Hi, I'm Franek Bojańczyk and I'm a Warsaw City guy. It's my place on earth. I was born and raised here. I enjoy every single day I spend in Warsaw. Today, I'm going to show you one of my favorite things about Warsaw. Its parks. After all, 20% of Warsaw is covered in green. So, let's get going. I will show you where Menachem Begin used to study and where you can take a rest in Warsaw, namely the Leśmian's Meadow. But first, we're heading to the Royal Łazienki Park. I will show you where the open-to-public Chopin concerts are held. By the way, did you know that the brilliant pianist Artur Rubinstein performed Chopin's pieces? You can listen to Chopin here in Łazienki and to Rubinstein at the Polin Museum Core exhibition. In the newly added section of the exhibition, you will get acquainted with the pianist's biography and his connection to Poland. We're now in Łazienki Królewskie, the largest historical park in Warsaw and a perfect spot for an afternoon walk or a picnic. It's also a park full of animals. There are peacocks, birds, foxes, and also the squirrels, so do not forget some nuts for hungry squirrels. Since its opening some 250 years ago, Łazienki has been one of the favorite spots of Warsawians. No wonder that in 1800s, Frédéric Chopin, a talented pianist and a composer, spent his Sundays here. In the summertime season, there are free of charge concerts of Frédéric Chopin's music given here by a talented pianist. Come here, sit back and relax and listen to our world-class music. But Łazienki Królewskie, it's not a name just like any other. It means royal bath, because indeed it was a bath and a summertime residence of the last king of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, Stanisław August Poniatowski. He was also one of the initiators of drafting the Constitution of 1791, the first constitution in Europe and the second one in the world after the American one. Poniatowski's ultimate idea was transforming Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth into a Republic of Dreams. Though he never realized that at the national level, what he did achieve was doing that at the local level, here in Warsaw. Royal Bath Park is one of his greatest achievements, with orangeries, with the summer theater, and most importantly, with the Palace on the Isle, located in between of two ponds. Already at the time of Poniatowski, it was a museum open for public, and it remains so until this very day. King Poniatowski was an enlightened monarch, friend of artists and philosophers, but not necessarily a great general. He admired great monarchs and great generals, though, people just like John III Sobieski, who was a Polish-Lithuanian king in the end of 1600s. He is depicted here in this equestrian form, while defeating the Turks. After all, he was mostly famous for defeating the Ottoman Empire on the outskirts of Vienna in 1683. Stanisław August Poniatowski had his royal bath, his Łazienki. John III Sobieski had his palace in Wilanów. He bought this mansion in 1677 and commissioned an Italian architect, Agostino Locci, to build here a Baroque palace. He spent as much time as he could here, far away from battlefields, but also his home estates of Żółkiew, which is in today's western Ukraine. He left his estate in good hands of his associate, a Jewish businessman named Jacob Bezalel. While being here with his family, friends and children, he tried to devote as much time as he could to one of his passions, being a gardener. John III Sobieski was also known for exchanging some very passionate love letters with his wife, Marie Casimir. How do I know it? Well, we read them at school. Together with his beloved wife, Marie Casimir, John III Sobieski spent here hours to beautify this place. He planted here trees and flowers. He even brought here tropical species, like those citrus trees. Maybe these oranges, mandarins, were the last treats of his life, which ended here in June 1696. You can spend here hours wandering around the gardens of Wilanów, but do not miss the palace itself. It's beautifully restored with some original furniture and paintings from times of John III Sobieski. If you liked Wilanów, you definitely have to come here to Krasiński Palace, built in the same time as the residence of King John III Sobieski. Though the palace itself is closed for visitors, you're very welcome to stroll around its garden. But Krasiński Garden is not the only name of this place. Prior to the Second World War, this garden was known as the Jewish Garden, since it was located just by the northern district, inhabited mostly by the Jews of Warsaw. It was also known as the Jewish Parliament, since every single political group had its own bench. I wonder, who is sitting on this very bench? If you want to know more about Krasiński Garden and the Northern District, visit the current temporary exhibition at Polin Museum, Here is Muranów, open through March 2021. We are now in the heart of historical Warsaw, standing next to the main gate of the Warsaw University. It's the largest and the oldest university of Warsaw, established over 200 years ago in 1816. One of the most famous graduates of this university was Mieczysław Biegun, or in Hebrew, Menachem Begin, a Polish Jew from Brest in today's Belarus. He came to Warsaw to study law, but he never practiced it. Instead, he went into politics, becoming the 6th Prime Minister of the State of Israel in 1977, and a year after, the Nobel Peace Prize laureate. Let me take you to one of my favorite spots in Warsaw, an amazing roof garden of the Warsaw University Library. This garden opened in 2002, and since then it's one of the most beautiful green spaces in the whole city of Warsaw. Warsawians come here to drink coffee, to meet, to relax, and students of the Warsaw University sit here and study before exam session, exactly as I did when I was a student of the Warsaw University, sitting in the same auditorium where once Menachem Begin sat. Another great thing about the garden of the library is that you can see so much from here. Take this view, for instance. It's very hard to believe that behind this natural forest there is a neighborhood of Praga inhabited by thousands of people. But not only people, also tigers, zebras, and elephants. We're now in the Warsaw Zoological Garden, which is located only 15 minutes walk from the Old Town in Warsaw. I came here to see the elephants, which the Warsaw Zoo was always very proud of. One of the first elephants born in captivity, named Tuzinka, was born here in 1937. And today, the only male in the Warsaw Zoo is an Israeli elephant from Ramat Gan, Yoni, born in 2001. The author of the success of the Warsaw Zoo was Jan Żabiński, a biologist and author of popular radio programs in the Polish radio. Jan Żabiński, along with his wife, Antonina, lived here in the grounds of the Warsaw Zoo in a beautiful modernist villa. Let's go to see their home. We are now in Żabiński's home, in the beautiful modernist villa known as the Villa Under the Crazy Star, because of the animals who used to live here. After the invasion in 1939, Warsaw Zoo was closed, but Jan and Antonina Żabiński decided to stay here and use those premises to help others. In the beginning, they were helping members of the underground movement, but then they also started to help the Jews of Warsaw. This story was made popular by Diane Ackerman's book known as The Zookeeper's Wife. Jews were hiding here in the basement of this building, but also in cages around the villa. Whenever there was a dangerous situation, whenever Germans were close to the villa, Antonina Żabiński, who was a talented pianist, played a piece by Offenbach, La Belle Hélène. And when the dangerous situation was over, she was playing Chopin's music. We're now in the basement under Żabiński's home, in a place where people usually stayed a couple of months before they moved to other locations on the so-called Orient side. Among the people who stayed here were Ludwig Hirschfeld, a famous doctor, and Rachela Auerbach, one of the co-authors of the Warsaw Clandestine Archive, known also as the Ringelblum Archive. People stayed here a couple of weeks, couple of months, But imagine how difficult were the conditions. You can hardly stand here. We just saw the basement of the villa, but sometimes even the basement was not safe enough. This is why there was a tunnel connecting the villa with the grounds of the zoo, which was sometimes used to evacuate people. It's very hard to estimate how many people were saved by Żabiński during the Second World War. It was something between 100 or 300. But whatever was the number, one thing we know for sure: what they did was extremely brave. In 1965, Righteous Among the Nations title was given to Jan and Antonina Żabiński, and soon after, they also planted a tree on Mount of Remembrance in Jerusalem. Visit our special portal to learn more about the Żabiński family and about other Poles who have been named Righteous Among the Nations. We're now leaving Praga, but we encourage those of you who want to find out more about this particular district of Warsaw to watch the film made by Polin Museum entitled Flavors of Praga. Agnieszka Kuś will tell you about the history of Praga and its residents, and will show you places which are definitely worth seeing. We are now at the Castle Square, in the very heart of historical part of the city. There are many landmarks here, including the Old Town, the Sigismundus Column, and the Royal Castle, the residence of Polish monarchs, which was razed to the ground during the Second World War and was thoroughly reconstructed only 4 decades ago when Menachem Begin was already a prime minister. But it's not necessarily a very green space. Well, let me show you what awaits you just 5 minutes away from here. Behind the castle you find this, the lower garden, a hidden gem of the royal residence. It's a perfect spot to relax after a visit to the Old Town and the Castle Square, only a minute away from the Vistula River. We are now walking through Piłsudski Square, named after Józef Piłsudski, one of the founding fathers of the Second Polish Republic, which was re-established in 1918. In the center of the square, you'll find the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, one of the most important monuments in the whole country, which is the only surviving element of the huge Saxon palace razed to the ground by the Nazis in December 1944. The tomb is guarded by 2 Polish soldiers who are here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. While here, pay attention to black plaques which are all over the monument and commemorate different battles of the Polish military fought over the centuries, and among them, one commemorating the Warsaw Gate Uprising in April and May 1943. But Piłsudski Square is not only about history. Behind the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier you will find Saxon Garden, the first public park not only in Warsaw but in the whole country, that opened to visitors 300 years ago. And since I'm here, I think it's time for some lody, ice cream. Today we saw a lot of historical parks and gardens, but Green Warsaw is not only about that. It's also about little communal gardens maintained by local citizens. Just like Leśmian's Meadow, created in 2017 by the Polin Museum, to honor Bolesław Leśmian, a Polish Jewish poet. Numerous activities take place there every summer, workshops and meetings engaging the local community. Well, now it's time to say goodbye. Thank you so very much for joining me today. It was a pleasure to be your guide. Thank you and see you soon in Warsaw.